Hello, boys and girls, and all the world of tankers. Today it's the day, and you may ask, what is the day? What's so special of today? Well, today I'm going to get my own 279E. Yes, indeed. It took me about 11 months to get it. Well, to be honest, I didn't commit to play for those missions 11 month. Um, I commitment to play about 4 months or something to get that tank. And today it's the day. Uh, in this video, I will tell you what was my strategy, what was my plan to get it, how it went, and also I will tell you the tips and guides how you can get your own 279E. I have tips for the Excalibur and Chimera missions, and I have detailed, or I will tell you detailed guidelines and tips for the two nations at the 279E missions. Yep. But let's start. My own plan to get 279E was that, oh, let's put this way, it was same as at the mission 1.0, which was basically that Obj.260 missions. I want to collect much as possible, or basically all the orders, and I'm going to use those to get that the last and hardest missions to complete it with orders that way. So collect all the orders, and I'm not going to use those in any specific missions, only for those last missions. And that was the plan. And so what it means that uh, I'm going to collect all the uh, all the orders from the Excalibur missions, and I did that. Last mission, 15 missions, I completed with honors, so I get orders from there. And same, well, my plan was the same at the Chimera missions. Uh, I'm going to get all the orders from here, and I'm going to use them. But as you already see, I didn't get all the missions. So my original plan was to get all the missions with all the orders, which means that I get 8 orders and I complete one nation at the 279E, and I'm going to complete that with the honors, and there that way I'm going to collect 9 orders, and at the same time I'm going to complete that one part of that tank. Uh, the 279E, there's a four uh, four parts what you have to research to get that tank, and so and one part's requirements on the orders is free orders. So 9 orders means that I get free parts, and one part is already completed when I'm completing one nation at the 279E missions. Well, that was the plan, that was the hope, that was the dream. But like many things in life, uh, no, no, things are not going like you're planning, and that's the thing what I facing in my own thing, uh, own performance in this whole grinding thing. The problems was that I didn't complete two missions with the honors, so I didn't get the all the orders from the Chimera missions. And to be honest, I completed firstly only 2 of these, and after that I didn't spend my time to struggle to get those 2 missions completed. I just start to do 2 nations and just to do those uh, to the end. And good thing about these is that I don't have to complete the last missions with the honors. I just get those parts without using or without getting any orders. That was the outcome how I managed to reach that point. Um, there was couple of times there was a very uh, black moment for me. There was a couple of missions which are very tricky and very hard, and so that was putting gray hairs on my head. But I will talk about those later. But now you see what was my plan, how I execute them, and now it's the time to release my own. Oh, sorry, that's not the correct one. Let's go here and let's collect that tank what I have been waiting for. So these are the ones what I have been uh, collected by grinding those missions through, and now I have 6 orders what I'm going to use. So yes, complete. Thank you very much. And next one, the last one, complete. Thank you very much. And yes, close, and boom, there you go. Oh, no, yes. And now you have been witnessed how I um, get that my own 2799E. Let's see if we can see it's in my carriage. Yes, there it is. It's so ugly, or it's so beautiful, or it's something else. That's for sure. It's something else. Overpowered, maybe, or not so. Maybe it is. I'm obviously pretty excited to play this, but I don't waste any time for that right now. I'm going to go forward and giving you the tips about this and share some thoughts about this. Uh, One thing was in my mind when I started planning to do this video is this the easiest way? Uh, I put early on the 260 object 260 video. I put uh, the topic of the or headline for that was the easiest way to get that, and I don't know was it the easiest way. It was a little bit provocative, but yeah. And same goes this. I don't know is this the easiest way. Uh, After all, it wasn't so hard. We're going to see that when we are going forward. It wasn't that hard. There's a couple of hard missions, but in overall, it wasn't so hard. And if we are talking about that, my original plan, I thought that it is the easiest. Uh, that wasn't the easiest way, to be honest. It was the fastest way to get this tank, but it wasn't the easiest way because the last missions of those missions, all the on those nations, they are far away from the easy. So mm, it took you may use a lot of time for grinding for those last missions. It's not the easiest way, but certainly it's the fastest way. And if you are a good player, what I'm not so good, I'm decent player, the OK player. But if you're a unicorn, obviously it's easy to get those in that way. Um, of course, now somebody is saying that the easiest way to get this tank is asking it from wargaming. Yeah, sure. I like to see that in real life if somebody is getting tanks just asking for a wargaming. Next thing, which is the easiest way to get this, which is true, is buying account where this tank is already, collect it from some account, and you buy it from eBay or something like that. Yeah, that's the easiest, not the cheapest way. Uh, I was curious to see what the price tags of those accounts are, and we are talking about hundreds, or it rises more than 1,000 euros to get those accounts. So if somebody is so uh, fond of or eager to get those accounts or these tanks and willing to pay that amount of money, so go ahead. That's probably easiest way. Next thing, what was in my mind is to use those services. What gives a possibility to a player to pay to that company that they are going to play those missions for you. In paper, that's a little bit tempting to use those, and I had to be honest, I had a couple of moments when I was struggling a couple of missions that what it's going to cost, and I was so curious that I Googled those services and just curious to see how much they are costing and what is the name of the game. And uh, yeah, I didn't enjoy it so well. I wasn't so interested after all those things. Just because one basic thing is that to me it's most important that I'm going to do those missions. I'm going to grind those things, not somebody else. This is my thing, and to me the most enjoyable thing is to this road, what I have to do to get this thing, not the tank itself. Obviously, I'm glad to get this, and I'm very uh, I have very good feelings after that grinding. It's so good to have this, and if I would pay that thing to somebody else to grind that, I don't get that same feeling. But now this whole tank has some special place in my garage, in my head and my heart, probably, if I may say so. And when I googled those firms and services, I found something very ugly what I didn't like. Uh, and what I found, first of all, I was a little bit wondering if I'm struggling in some nation weeks, many weeks to get some nation through, and those services they promises to get the same thing through under the week or something. We are talking about days. How that can be possible? Those gamers who are working on those servers cannot be so good players. And well, I get some answers when I found one firm which um, offering these services. They are also offering illegal modifications, what they are selling, and they are developing those. And that's the point where I'm starting to connecting those dots at how they are doing. Well, I'm not saying that all those companies are using hacks or something like that. That's not the message right here, but it raised some questions. And also, I found some videos where Gellerman, for example, very good videos. What he's putting out at YouTube, he shows how these service companies are rigging the battles, how they can develop or deliver those things to their clients who are buying those services. And to be honest, that makes me very sad. And to be honest, my the stocks of this game has been lowered so much after that. I have a little bit or some some amount of I have lost interest in the whole game after that. What I have figured out, but that's about thoughts and so on. Next thing, we are going forward, and I start to give tips for the Excalibur and Chimera missions. I won't not go so deeply those things. I just Uh, I tell roughly things what you can use when you are going through those Chimera and Excalibur missions. Uh, let's see, I put that other thing to show, and let's go to campaigns. And I don't go through these both. I start with the Chimera. Most the biggest differences between these is that Excalibur missions are obviously easier because it start the lower tiers, and lower the tier is, the easier it is it is to complete. But the main principles and the nature of these uh, mm, missions in these both in Chimera and Excalibur missions are pretty much the same, so I concentrate the Chimera. If you haven't done any of these mm, mission 2.0 missions, uh, there's a couple of things what is different to the 1.0, those Object.260 missions, and that's the one thing what you have to remember. So the 1.0 missions, they are specific to the different kind of tank class. No matter what the nation is, you are just playing those tank classes, and it's, in some point of view, it's much easier because you don't have to uh, pick up the specific nation of the some tank class. You just select the best in all of those nations in that tank class and just complete those missions. In this 2.0, you have to pick up tanks in the specific nations. So all these union bloc and alliances and what was the last coalition, you have to select the tanks out of those tanks for those missions. And next thing is that the missions itself doesn't tell what kind of tank class those are supposed to use when you are doing those missions. So you have to figure it out what is uh, the tank class what's supposed to use. That's the thing. Uh, and here is 15 missions, and here is different kind of missions. Nature of these are basically pretty much same as the Object.260 missions. So in other words, the 1.0 missions, but only you have to figure it out what kind of tank class or tank is best to use these. And if there are no tank classes to say what are the best to use those or what's supposed to use, but you can find pretty fast what is the best tank for this. And this is, in some point, if it's easier and best, good thing. For example, this block mission 1 costs 5,000 HP to damage the enemy vehicles. You can do this with any tank class you want, but it have to be in these nation tanks. And so you may choose, for example, TDs or heavy tanks. What you feel good on those things. Uh, Obviously, when we are going forward from Excalibur missions, these are the requirements are higher, and also we are going to higher tiers, so it's getting uh, harder in that way. Here is a lot of some of these missions are pretty easy and obvious to see what kind of tanks they are supposed to use. So, for example, this Alliance is 6 stunned enemy vehicles for 120 seconds in total. So this is artillery missions, obviously, and same goes spotting and so on. But you can do spotting with the heavy tanks too. So it's not so specifics in some point of view. But that's the nature of these things. And the last missions in the Excalibur and Chimera are always the hardest one. Uh, and yeah, but let's go forward. I have listed here some tips, what I hope you find useful, and let's start on those. Go a little bit. No, well, let's. I let that screen on. Uh, First tip. Uh, in Chimera missions, play tier 7 tanks always if it's possible. And reason for this is that they are much easier. You can face tier 5 tanks in that, and that's crazy because the gap between tier 5 and 7 is huge. So those battles are very easy to complete. But obviously, if you have a mission where you have to do a lot of damages or something that like that, the overall team HP pool is lower, so it might be a harder. In that case, you have to play higher tiers. And same goes to the Excalibur. There is one step lower tiers, so play always, if it possible, into to complete that mission, the lowest tiers what you can use in those missions. It's much easier. Next thing, um, most of those battles are very often the best way to play is to be very aggressive. And I mean, don't play like an idiot, just rush into the enemy fire. It doesn't mean that, but watch all the time the phase where you can take on control, especially if you are a high top tier in your own team. Find the positions and facing that you can be aggressive and take that step. Don't if it's necessary. There's a couple of missions where you have to play careful and what's to be you have to be more careful, but in general play aggressively when it's necessary. It gives you much better result for these missions. The next thing is sad fact, but to complete these easier, to do better result, to complete this mission in overall, you have to use cold ammunitions and if possible directives and also extra food if needed. I don't recommend that you are using those every battle, but prepare your tanks and yourself to use those in some situation or some phases that you know that I have to pull out now. I have to get completed this and I so on, and that's the moment where you have to, or it's not have to, but I recommend that you are spending these premium things on your tank. These things makes your tank very much better, and your performance is stepping up so much brightly. So that's that way you can make sure that you are completing those missions easier. In many cases in these missions, the high alpha gun is the king. That means that pick up the tank which has big alpha damage, and the big alpha it itself it's not so important, but I may so that say that big alpha plus good gun handling are the king in this way, because the many missions requires a lot of damage is done. So if you are picking up little alpha damage gun, whatever it has, or fast reloading time or something, you are not collecting the big result in that way, at least not so easily. So in my case, what I have been seeing, I always picking the tank which has high alpha damages. For arty missions, this is very good and very, let's say, overall tip. It works like a charm. Uh, Select or grind to yourself tier 9 artillery, which has very fast reloading gun. And I have used that American M53/55 with the stock gun. The reloading time is so much faster. And reason for this is now I mean I know that somebody is now asking why, because those guns are crappy. They don't do damages. Yeah, you are right. They don't do damages, but in a point of view, these missions, what is the crucial thing what you have to get is the standing time. And that's the thing what those guns are doing. They are not doing damages, but they are giving a lot of stunned time. And when you have fast reloading, you are going to stun lot of uh, more than that Top Gun in those, which have minute or almost a minute reloading time or something. Your stunning time in those battles are much smaller than that uh, stock gun, which has a lot of faster reloading time. So this is a tip which works very good, fine. Uh, for example, in my cases when I played those stunning missions, these artillery missions in these Chimera and Excalibur, uh, I get those at the first try. I complete it right away. Only the primary, I didn't waste my time to get those secondary. So those conditions, to me, it was just my goal is just to get those primary conditions. So I get those at the first try with those artilleries. So that's a very good tip. Those missions are very easy to when you are using this kind of tanks and those stock guns. Next thing, uh, this is very good overall tip. Choose the tanks what you like to play. I have put those high alpha gun tips and so on, but the more important thing is to select the tanks what you feel that you are performing well on those, and you feel yourself familiar on those, and you play those. You are performing best on those tanks, because when you have good feeling and you're performing those tanks well, uh, that's a best road and easiest way to complete these missions too. And when we are going through these last missions, which are the hardest one, at the Excalibur mission, they was pretty hard, and the Chimera missions are way harder. The nature of these missions, the last missions in the Chimera and the Excalibur are pretty much the same, but the Chimera missions are much harder, at least for me. Now my recommendations for the what I have been used and tried on these last missions in the Chimera. Obviously, these are working to the Excalibur 2, and these, as far as I remember, these are all the tier 10 recommended, because all these last missions are required a lot of damages or something, and you cannot do that amount of damages at the lower tiers. So you have to use the higher tier 10 tanks. Obviously, it's possible to do lower tiers, but uh, it's in HP pool point of view, it's easier. But obviously, tier 10 uh, tanks are hardest tanks and tank class to play. So yeah, but my recommends what I have been using and what I'm recommending is for Union is that blocking mission. Let's see where it is. Was this block? Yeah. Sorry, not the correct one. It's a union over here. And this was a little bit tricky. I didn't complete this the first time with the honors. This is the one what I didn't complete at the first. This was I only completed at the primary uh, requirements, and in that case I use it Object.257, which where I complete this whole thing. And that tank is very good for blocking missions because it's a tier 9, it's not tier 10, it can face tier 7s, and it's one of the best, uh, let's put that way, let's say that some kind of joker tank. I mean, you can over side scrap with that, and and bait enemy to shoot on the side, and because it has this boat kind of shape, the whole it going to ricochet and bounce the side shot. So it's so easily to collect that 10,000 HP in that way. But if you want to get with honors, there's a catch. You have to cost 20% of the total amount of damages of your team, and that means that you have to mm, um, and also when we are adding that you have to win in the battle, and when you winning team on that battle, that means that in most of the games you have to the the enemy team is going to get kill it or they kill it all them, and so you have to collect the whole enemy team's 20% of the whole enemy team's HPs, and that's the same as the high caliber award. Uh, when we are playing tier 10s, it might be the value amount of those, it raises very high. I mean, we are talking about 5,000 or 6,000 damage is what you have to deal to get that. Obviously, if you are playing with tier 9 or something, it drops down the requirements for that high caliber award, which is basically the same as 20%. And yeah, that's a tricky one, and that's the reason why I didn't get this at the first time. Mm, I need to get those honors, and I came back to this grinding these missions, and I complete with the object 286/4. Um, I I played it has been very hard tank to me to play. Um, the strategy how I played with that tank was that I start a little bit careful. I don't play as a nature of that tank should play it. It should be played as aggressive, but I start with a little bit patient and careful, being careful. No, I'm not at the red line, but I'm not in the front, and I'm just shooting those easy hits and just to collect the HPs. And when I'm seeing that my team is going to win and we are in the upper hand against the enemy team, that's a point when I'm going in front and trying to kill everyone. And that's a way how I managed to complete this with the honors. Uh, and it was pretty easy when I thinking afterwards. Just start to pay with the patience, and I shoot about 4,000 or something at the first when I was cover. Then I saw that my team is going to win. I go in front and I kill about I collect by killing about 15,000 something. I collect 5,500 to 6,000, and that point I know I have already had those uh, blocking points about 8,000, and my tank was without any penetration. It was scratch-free, so-called, and I was a little bit patient and just to make sure that my team is going to win. And after I knew that it was something 8-3 or something like that, I did the kamikaze and run to the enemy fire and let myself kill it, and that's the way I get the 10,000, and also I have collected uh, that amount of that 20%, and my team wins, and that's why how I completed. I tried this also with the IS-4, which is very good tank on this, but it's pretty slow. The armor of it's one of the best on the game. For the blocking mission, it's good, but it's slow tank. Also, I was many times uh, close to get this with the honors with the Obj.260. It has been a little bit hard tank to me to learn how to, but after I start to play with that more aggressive, uh, it it is it that's a tank what's doing the miracle things. It's so fast and agile for the heavy, and it's a decent armor and so on. That's the one recommend what I'm recommending on the what you can use in these missions. Next one, block 15, and this was probably the easiest. And no, not the probably. This was the easiest uh, uh, last mission in Chimera, and to me it was easier because I'm very big fan of Grille 15. I like that a lot. Tier 10 tank. It's amazing. And so fast I remember, I probably did this at the first try. I mean, 3,500 HPs. It's it's so easy to get with the Skrill and six different enemy tanks. Well, it can be a tricky, but again, alpha damage for it's for at the Krill is so good that it's not so big a deal, and you have to be just in a winning team. So this was very easy. You can also try if you like the TDs like I do at the German nation. You can try this VT and Scorpion G, but to me, Grille is the king. That's the one what I have used. Next one, uh, Alliance 15, and that's the one what I didn't get honors. The second, and this is very tricky. At the first, this might uh, seems very easy, but this isn't. This is a far, far away from the easy. Uh, at least for me, because I don't find, mm, for my playing style, very good TDs on the American or British tanks. And main idea to cause 6,500 HPs to the enemy tanks. It's not a small amount of damages. This is something what I don't pull out in every battle. And when we are talking about British or USA tanks, it's something what I don't so easily get, because those tanks what I can use are, there's a two kind of tanks, those British and USA tanks. They are very slow, and gun handling is something not so good, or they are the gun itself is sluggish or something like that. It's they are easy to play in some point of view, but yeah, at some level. But after that, they are, if you want to get very good result, it's they are not so good. In the paper, the thing what I have been tried so much was that FV 4005, and that's the one what I complete many times. This first priority conditions, that 6,500, but same times that I can destroy 5 enemy vehicles and the win battle. Well, that's a different story. Uh, and the biggest trouble with this FV was that it's how I say it. It's a crappiest tank in this game, to be honest. It's so painful, and it has been very expensive tank to me to play in these honors. I've been using all the bells and whistles on those, and shooting those premium uh, ammunitions which cost almost 9,000 credits per shot and so on. And that gun is so terrible. You cannot hit anything, and it's so much RNG slot machine whole tank. You can hit or miss your paddle or not. So it's so painful. I have been, I have so stressful and so angry sometimes on that on that tank. I have also tried with the 95 and the 110 E4 and 3. Those are very good tanks to try it. I just noticed that I have the 95 two times. Sorry about that. Also, Tortoise is very good on those. If you get those battles where you can uh, kill everyone who are rushing forward to you, and you have time to kill everyone. So yeah, um, that's a good choice for that. And also, I tried many battles with the Cobra. Cobra is very interesting. When you learn how to play it, you can deal easily about 5,000 or even 6,000 damages, and you are always clipping out enemies in when you are in those battles. And that might be a good choice for that too. Yeah. In overall, if there these uh, requirements for honors, the secondary conditions could be without a winning battle. This would be much easier. I don't say much easier, but these are requirements which makes this harder to complete. But that's one what I didn't complete with honors, so I didn't get that order from that. The last, it was a collision. Is it this one? Yeah. Um, yeah, it wasn't the easiest one, but again, we are talking about, for example, French nation, which has the best scout or light tanks in the battle, EBRs and so on. This this wasn't so hard, but obviously 9,000 HP spotting isn't something again what you can get on every battle, and when you try to get honors, you have to uh, enable your team to kill free enemy vehicles, and you have to win also. So these are things what makes this harder. Uh, I did with this with the EPR 105, and it was very good battle. In matter of fact, it was just firstly I counter my enemy EPRs away, and after that it was so easy. Just active scouting the enemy tanks, and I did almost 10,000 spotting, and my assist I enable our team to kill 5 or 6 enemy tanks. It was very good battle, and yeah. Yeah, that's about it. Last and well, okay, that was the Chimera tips. Next thing is um, to go through the tips for the 279 emissions. And like I said earlier, I have completed two two nations, and I will go these through, and I will tell what kind of tanks I have been using, them, what kind of tricky things is on those. Let's go forward. And overall, there was one tip which is a very good tip for the Obj.279 missions to play forum missions. And what this means, it means that you have to start to think a little bit different than when you are playing the normal, probably a little bit different than what you are thinking or what your mindset when you are playing normally those random battles. You have to keep in your mind what is in the mission if you want to complete those. You have to keep it in mind. So your playing style might be a little bit different. But an overall tips for a 279E, uh, this is very good tip in overall. The nature of these battles, those missions in these 279Es are a little bit different, or not a little bit different. They are totally different. With different earlier missions, you have to complete once the requirements to get that. But in these 279E missions, you have a lot of little missions. What you have the uh, limited amount of battle what you have to uh, complete, and you have limits for how many times you have to get it in this amount of battles, and this makes this in some cases much harder. You have to commit on those battles, and you have to keep up in that level of playing skill or result or performance. You cannot complete this with luck or something like that. That one battle out of 100 is good. You have to commit and get a lot of good performance battles to get this through. That's the nature of these 279 missions, and that's a first thing what is good to manage mention if you didn't know that. And but first tip is to avoid tier 10 tanks if it's possible. And just because these missions, uh, they are in single missions are in some cases they are very easy. Uh, they don't require higher tier tanks. And if that's the case, don't play higher tier tanks because again, tier 10 tanks and the battles and randoms in tier 10s are much harder. So it's good to avoid the tier 10 tanks and battles if it's possible because it's much harder. Uh, Next thing, like I said, tier 10s are harder. In paper and in practice, the tier 9s are ideal tank level to play because tier tank 9 tanks most of the time they are very competitive. They are sometimes they are same or even better than tier 10 tanks, but the level of the battles are lower. And best of all, you might face the tier 7 tanks and obviously tier 9 tanks. Tier 7 and 8 tanks. When you are playing tier 10 tanks, many times or most of the times you are getting from matchmaking pure tier 10 tanks battles. So there's only tier 10 tanks, and those battles are much harder than if you are playing tier 9 tanks and you can face tier 7s and so on. So tier 9 is then ideal for in many cases. Obviously, uh, tier 8 are two options in some cases too. Like I said before, these have series of uh, little missions what you have to complete in this amount of battles. For example, this complete cost 3000 HPs to the enemy tanks on the 3 battles 3 times in a row. If you fail one, these whole things are going back to the 0. So that's a nature, and this means that you have to play a little bit different in the daily basis these battles. And early missions, whatever missions you are playing in the for Obj.260 or the Chimera or Excalibur, you can play those missions uh, just a playing random, like you don't have to pay attention so much. And if you are complete something, it's great. But when you start to play these, you have to commit to play those missions because you have a limited amount of battles what you have to complete uh, to get the whole mission completed. So that's the nature of this is a little bit different and a lot of different, much different than those earlier missions. And this is sometimes very stressful because you have to focus your doing and playing on that mission. Uh, Very good tip. Um, if the mission or a tank what you are using those, you are not progressing. Uh, you are not progressing in that mission what you are trying to grind. Uh, Switch mission to the other. You don't have to go these missions in specific order. You can jump around. That's a very good tip, especially if you are facing some very hard mission. You don't complete it. You don't know how to complete it. Don't uh, don't let it affect in your mind. Just select another mission and try that one. Same goes to the tank. If you don't get good result in one tank, select another tank and try something else. This is also a good thing. Don't play when you are angry or you are stressful or you are tired or something like that, because that's a one thing that you are not going to complete those missions. Though that's mindset. So it's always wait and that you have good feeling and you feel that now you can kill everyone in the battle, and now everything is going just like you are planning. That's a good feeling and mindset. Use that. And also, if the game is when you're signing in the client, it's going to give you very good RNG run on the randoms for what kind of team you get, how good you are hitting. If you get that very good wave on that point of view, use it for these missions. Also, if you are not progressing, take a break when you are in stressful mindset or you are tired or something. It's not a good thing to continue. Take a break when you're not progressing. It's very good tip. Always reset the start if needed. So the thing how this works is when you start to play, it's not a good example, but let's that one. When you start to play, uh, if you don't, the game itself doesn't reset this if you don't complete. So what I mean, if you start to play this at the first time you don't complete this, again, sorry, this is very bad example where I find something better. What I'm trying to say. This is good example now. You have 9 chance to get this complete, and you have to complete it, these little missions 3 times. So when you start to do this, the game doesn't. It's going to use this first slot if you don't complete this with success. So you don't. After that, you have only 8 possibilities. Same goes on the next and next, and again you have all the time uh, little and little the chance and possibilities to complete this whole thing. So best tip for this is when if you don't complete the first one, reset this whole thing. There's a reset button on those cases. When you are completing the first one, then let it be and try to complete this another one, another requirement amount of battles in what you have left. There's also modification which will reset this automatically, and it's legal. And there's nothing illegal in that modification. You can find it in the mod hub. it's very useful, and that's what I have been using. So it's automatically reset if I don't succeed at the first try. So it only don't reset automatically that whole thing uh, if I when after that I have been successful in that first battle. Let's go forward. Ah, very good tip. I will come back to this whole thing later. But last missions of these, they are the nature of these missions are pretty much the same. You have to collect mastery pads class 1 or higher. Higher means that's ace tanker patches. And to collect and get these are related to the ranking of the battle, the tanks, uh, how good or bad they are, and what are expected values for them. So it's very wise to choose the tanks which have low expectation values because they are much easier to get these mastery patch class 1 or the ace tanker patches. Now the question in your mind might be what is the good tank? Well, overall the best good tank for is that worst tank in those values in this game. Select the best tank for you, what you can perform well on those worst tanks. And next one, you might ask well, you can see what is the first tank and where you can find those uh, list of those tanks. Well, here's two web pages from internet where you can check those, and I will show how I have selected my tanks in those last missions when we go forward. But these are the two web pages where you can select and find those lists. Don't worry about this. You don't have to copy this from the video. I will put these links in the description of this video, so you can find them over there. It's very good tip. Uh, Very good reminding is that for the mastery patches, the dealing damage is not the only important thing. Well, to be honest, that's the thing what I was relying on. That was what I focusing all the time because it's much easier in those things what I have selected. But if you are doing for you can get those points for those patches too by spotting or something else. This effective acting in those battle, so you don't have to do only those damages. So assisting damages are important too. So you can complete those too by some good light tanks and so on. So it's good to remember that all the damages is not the most important thing only, and obviously destroying enemy tanks is it's important too. And when you are destroying, you get more points if you are destroying higher tier tanks. Those are the things what is good to remember. And again, like I said earlier, on those Chimera missions and the Excalibur missions, play for missions itself. Forget your own playing style uh, for the team or however you are playing in the randoms. Uh, if you want to complete this, you have to in some missions you have to play very selfless way and forget your own team and the winning of them. You just try to complete your own missions, and that's a fact. If you want to complete your missions most effective way, you have to remember those and playing like the missions requires. Next thing,